All right, everybody, it is time for another episode of the Crimson Corner. I am your host, Michelle Bodkin, and also your Utah Utes insider for KSLSports.com. Now, today I thought it would be a great idea to bring on a close personal friend of mine, actually. You may know him from Twitter. He's a pretty big Twitter personality. And has done some fun things over the years as far as bringing the community together. And I think one of his best things that he's come up with as of late, and he has a couple of partners that help him with it, is the Across the Green golf tournament that actually helps out with Utah football or Utah athletics. Actually, it is Utah football, just Utah football for the moment. Utah football NIL. Kind of a cool concept that they've come up with here. Of course, I am talking about the one and only Andrew McCollough. Andrew, how are you?
Good, Michelle. How are you doing?
You know what? Not too bad. We're enjoying some summer sun.
Heck yeah, it's starting to warm up and enjoy that warm weather and the nice lull before the fall gets here and you get back to covering football nonstop all day.
Oh yeah, it's I can see it like a speeding train. It's coming fast.
You got about a month left because it really starts with fall camp. So
well, it really starts with media day.
Yeah, Pac-12
Media
Day.
So I have like a little less than a month now.
Yeah, the final countdown.
Oh yeah, total countdown. Absolutely. Well, Andrew, you have a pretty spectacular event coming up. Actually, the same day as Media Day. Talk about what you have going on and what exactly Across the Green is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, coincidentally, the same day as Media Day. But Across the Green is a golf tournament. Of course, it takes its name from the line in the fight song of Across the Green. But we decided a couple of years ago, a couple of buddies and I that had been running the Utah Social Open, which is kind of a golf tournament to just get people together from around like the Twitter sports scene of Utah, and then turn it into an NIL focused event that's just specifically Utah football, raise some funds for the players. But more than that, what I noticed was really just how much the players loved interacting with the fans. So the whole premise is a golf tournament where you sign up, you get paired with a team, and one member of your team is a Utah football player from the squad. I think we have about 26 Utah football players already committed. Ton of big names, most of the starters. Of course, we'll be missing a couple that'll be with you in Las Vegas that day for Pac-12 Media Day. Right. It's funny is because Cole is one of the individuals going with you, and he was amped to be in it. He played last year, and he was amped to be back again. And then he kind of got the nod, I guess, if you will, that he would be representing the defense at the Media Day. So he's not able to be there, but have a ton of great players coming out. Off the top of my head, Micah Bernard. He's come out a couple times. He'll be back out there. Have a ton of offensive linemen that are going to be out there playing. I wish I had the list in front of me, but we're going to have a ton of the starters out there playing golf, and then after the round of golf, there's a luncheon. Everybody that plays is going to get a custom pin flag that'll be signed by all the players in attendance, and it's just a good time. In fact, a lot of the players, as we're reaching out and getting things set this year, they were saying, "Oh, honestly, you don't even have to worry about paying us. Like we just want to come out and have a good time." And in my opinion, I think the players have been as excited, or maybe even more excited than the fans for this. They just had a blast last year. It was such a good time, but it really brings the community together. It gets the players a chance to interact with the fans, gives the fans a chance to actually get to know some of these players. That they'll be cheering for all season long.
Yeah, it's a really cool concept in that way. I have yet to make it out to an across the green event, mostly because it keeps falling in line with Pac-12 Media Day. Um,
Yeah.
but I was able to do the Utah Social Open last year, where you also had several Utah football players come out. Was that at all the inspiration for getting across the green started, or was that in
It
motion
really
before that?
it really was. I mean, that was kind of the first time that we had uh, well, I mean, I guess we had Britton Covey out the year before, but um, after that initial US or Utah Social Open, we had like 10 or 15 players to the Utah Social Open that you were at and covered with your duties with KSL last summer, and that kind of was the inspiration. It was like, hey, why don't we do this, but more focused, even more players. So I think we had 10 or 12 players out to that Social Open. Of course, this year, like I said, 26 players so far. I mentioned Makai Bernard. We have Miki Suguturaga, Lavani Demooney. We have the Fano brothers. Miles Battle, new cornerback. Jaquindon Jackson, who's a huge fan favorite. Thomas Yasmin from the Thunder from Down Under. Chris Curry, Jalen Glover, Money Parks, and a bunch of other names will be there. But yeah. To answer your question, that was kind of the impetus for it, and it's just grown. Each time it's grown a little bit bigger.
Now, what I like about this situation, at least from my standpoint as media covering the team, is that situation with the Utah Social Open that I was able to go to was a little more casual. And so, I had the opportunity to talk to some of these guys in a much more casual way. It was a little less formal than what I'm used to as far as doing like media stuff at practices or after games. Talk about, though, from the fan perspective, getting to hang out with some of these guys and really get to know them as people, especially golf is really nice, kind of in the same way that baseball's nice, that it's easy to kind of talk and get to know people.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea. I mean, it's one thing you see a lot of these events where you a meet and greet, right, where you might talk to the player for 20, 30 seconds, very, very informal, or you see them in the very formal setting that you're kind of referencing as far as football goes and media exposure. But this is completely the opposite. So, I know a bunch of the golfers last year, they were able to build, friendships with the players where, they did things with the players outside of this. It also created a lot of NIL opportunities for the players because a lot of the individuals that are coming out to golf are business owners. They're looking to sponsor things with the team. And then just getting to know and kind of network with them and get to know the players is a blast. And it's totally different, right? I mean, it's one thing to see your favorite player talking to the camera and giving coach speak. It's a whole other thing, 4 hours of golf, I won't mention names, but a few players, having a stogie out there with some of the sponsors, have a drink, obviously eat lunch and just kind of get to know these kids, not just as athletes, but as individuals. And it was just an awesome community event, really last year. And what's funny is, like I said a little bit earlier, the fan reception has been great. Don't get me wrong. A lot of fans have signed up already. We do have a few more spots. So if you're interested, hurry and go to our website at acrossthegreenu.com and sign up. But the player demand for it has been crazy. I don't know how my phone number got around the Utah locker room, but this summer I've randomly just get hit up. It's like, hey, this is Chris Curry, or hey, this is the Logan Fano, or hey, this is whomever I want to come play in the golf tournament. Do you have space? And we've tried to do our best to accept everybody that we can. Of course, it's kind of limited just because the space on the golf course and the number of golfers we have. But we've tried to do a good job of getting everybody who wants to be part of it there from the team. But man, they're super excited to get out and hang out with the fans and really get to know the fans and the players on a personal level has been awesome.
What's it like for you to have these people hitting you up and to know that you created something that people want to be a part of? And it really kind of did start with the Utah Social Open, which was kind of sort of a joke during COVID. And it's blown up and you've received a lot of interest, from regular people, from people within Utah athletics, people that are on the team, to talk about this thing blowing up and turning into these different avenues that people are excited about.
Yeah. I mean, so this Utah Social Open, as you kind of mentioned, it just started as, a group of us who had pent up in our houses for months on months. We wanted to find a way to get out and kind of, have some human interaction again, if you will. And so we thought, hey, golf's a good way to do it. And it was originally just 36 dudes that got together and played some golf, and it's just absolutely ballooned from there. The next tournament was 220 people with a lot of big names around the state, from BYU athletes to Utah athletes to Utah Athletic Director Mark Harlan, and you name it. To me, honestly, it just shows a sign of how much how big of a deal community is, and how much we need it in our lives. And it's been a fun way to kind of bring the community together, especially revolving around Utah football. It's also been a very, very in the world of NIL, it's been a great way for a lot of these guys to meet potential sponsors and other business owners that want to sponsor them and do NIL. Last year, just at the tournament, we were able to get $25,000 to the players. But one of the nice things is a ton of the fans that came, that own businesses, were able to do quite a bit of business. Just kind of informally, we think, from the Across the Green last year, we think there was more than $250,000 of NIL deals that ended up that originated from that tournament, getting to these players. And so it's just been a great way to support our Utah athletes, to get to know them. And then in the fall, when you're watching the games, it's not suddenly like, oh yeah, that's, Jackson number 3. It's like, oh, that's Jakunden Jackson. I played golf with him for 4 hours and then had lunch, and, we occasionally text or whatnot. It's, that's my buddy, or, that's my friend or acquaintance. It changes the whole dynamic. It's not just cheering for, some stranger you've never met. You have a vested interest in cheering for a friend or an acquaintance. And it's just been a really wholesome thing for me.
I know when NIL was initially announced, a lot of hesitation from people, and I get it. Like, all of a sudden, you kind of go from, you have to be so careful about how you interact with these athletes. Otherwise, you potentially lose their scholarship for them. To now, it's a little freer. There's still some rules, I say slightly sarcastically. But I mean, there's still some guidelines there. But in a lot of ways, it's opened up opportunities for fans to get to know these guys a lot better. Talk about, your ability to get to know these guys, these players, and what you kind of learned about where these guys come from, and kind of what makes up Utah football.
Yeah, and I'll give you a couple of really cool examples. So the first, and to address your point of, the pre-NIL days to now, one of the first athletes that we had come out and was be part of the golf tournament was none other than Britton Covey, who's obviously a huge fan favorite and current NFL player for the Philadelphia Eagles. The first time he came out to the golf tournament, I was like, hey, sorry, Britton, like, we love to have you out and we want you to be part of it, but I have to charge you. Like, I can't, like, I'm not going to, get the team in trouble or get you in trouble for, $85 golf green fee, Mm-hmm. And he was like, no, I totally get it. Of course, but that was able to foster kind of a relationship to where, in the post NIL days, I ended up being able to do a couple deals with Britton. We still talk, every so often. And he's just an amazing individual. The coolest thing for me was seeing how great some of these guys are. And frankly, every single one I've interacted with has been great. But to actually get to know them versus just cheering for them as a player has been really awesome. Another one that a lot of people know that I'm a big fan of is Bryson Barnes, right? From, almost hero of that original Rose Bowl to, Utah's backup quarterback and doing great things as a walk-on, and being able to get to know him, and Miki Sugijuraga, another name that, is a big fan favorite and a big, I'm a big fan of. but getting to know them as individuals and friends and acquaintances, as I said, is really changed the way Utah football. How I cheer in the fall. It's very hard when one of these players has a setback, be it an injury or they make a mistake. There's never, in this point, like there's never this frustration or this, any sort of animosity. It's like, man, my heart goes out because like I know how good of a dude this person is, or I know how much work this guy has put into it. And I know, myself aside, I know a lot of the fans that have got to know a lot of these players have created relationships with them, friendships, and it's really, that's probably my favorite thing of NIL is it's really almost broken down kind of the wall between the athletes and the fans, and it's and Utah does a great job of embracing the family atmosphere, but it's really made it as the fans and the athletes are they're almost family, and that family on three chant means a little bit more because of that. And so I think you nailed some great points there with just the ability to interact with the players. And I don't think that's just because they're getting paid. In fact, I know it's not, because several of them said, hey, we don't even need to get paid. It's created the opportunities to get them out and to get players to have access to fans and vice versa. And I think, in my opinion, it's been nothing but make fan support that much better for these kids and the team and the institution as a whole.
I think one of the other interesting things, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, is the networking aspect. Like before NIL, it was once again a little difficult to network, build a relationship with some of these guys, because again, you had to be so careful. The wrong interaction gets the team in trouble, gets these players in trouble, but at the same time, they're getting preached to all the time. Football ends at some point for everybody, so you better have a plan. Well, it's hard to do that if you're kind of untouchable in a way. And I think NIL, especially the way that Utah's doing it, and especially a thing like the golf tournament, where you can really kind of sit and get to know someone for a couple of hours and talk business and some of that kind of stuff, has opened up networking opportunities both ways. How important do you think that is as far as, making sure that these guys are okay moving forward, even from football?
Yeah, no, and I think that's one of the awesome things that we have seen is, it does work both ways. I do think for the players, a lot of these guys that are coming to the tournament they're great, and they're going to get a taste of the NFL. But at some point, football ends. Whether you make it to the league or not, it ends. And coming out to these tournaments, they're interacting with a lot of these golfers are business owners, doctors, lawyers, bankers, accountants. We have some great sponsors that are in all of those different fields. And I know as a matter of some of these players interacting with some of these guys, that there's been some internships and some jobs that have they've been able to land, and because of some of the relationships they made the golf tournaments last year, and I just think it's that is an awesome benefit, because at some point, like you said, football ends, and you gotta a lot of times you gotta move on to a desk job or another sort of job, and it's been a great way to interact with future potential employers as well as partners. And from my experience, a lot of these players, they'll probably make far more money than I ever will. But it's also been great for me professionally as well. A lot of people referring business and things between individuals at the golf tournaments and things like that. So not only is it a great time, not only are we helping put some money in the players' pockets now, but helping them in the future. While also we're networking and building connections, and I think just all around it's a great thing in that aspect.
So you have a couple of partners that are helping you out. Steve Bartle is one of them, and of course Connor Schoen, who's kind of been your right-hand man as far as the Utah Social Open goes. What is your guys' vision for Across the Green moving forward?
Yeah, I think we want to keep it, pretty much what it is now. But of course, the more sponsors and more money we can raise for the players, the better. we'd love to be able to get, every single sponsorship opportunity filled and every single golf spot filled. But at the same time, we don't want to turn it into some corporate, we're not looking to make any money. We don't take a single penny from this. In fact, it's heavily subsidized when you count our time. But we just want to keep it, a family friendly environment. Even if you don't like to golf, you can sign up to come to the luncheon after the round of golf. It's there at Eaglewood Golf Course up in North Salt Lake, Bountiful area. You can sign up. You can come to the luncheon. You can get a signed flag with all of the players. Or if you're out of state and you want to support and say, hey, this is cool, I want to support the Utah football players. Again, 100% of the proceeds are going to them. You can also just sign up to buy a signed pin flag, and we'll mail that wherever. We had dozens last year that we mailed. We had posters last year. But we just want to keep that fun atmosphere. We don't want this thing to get corporate. It is not a money-making venture, but we want it to grow, of course, in the sense that we want as many sponsors and golfers as possible. And it's open to everybody. So if you like to golf, come golf. Come to the luncheon if golf's not your thing, or if, like I said, if you don't live here and you want to participate, you can follow around on Twitter. There's a lot of we do media, and we have the great Sammy Mora doing interviews, and she'll be posting those on our Twitter account at Across the Green U on Twitter, and support the players any way you can.
And then I know there's been some questions. What about the Utah Social Open? What's happening with that?
Yeah, great question. So the Utah Social Open, we've kind of decided that we want to take that thing back to what it originally was, which was, getting together and socializing, a bit less of a circus and more of an interaction thing. So we're going to be having that later this fall. Watch for announcements on that. It should be September time. But I think that had gotten so big where, we had mascots for all the universities out and the radio stations and tons and tons of sponsors. And we want to kind of get it back to more of just having a good time and having a good round of golf and luncheon. And, that one obviously a little bit more accessible in terms of cost, just because we're not trying to raise money for the players in that sense. So watch for announcement on that. It should be, later this fall in September or so. But look to keep that moving forward as well.
Well, great stuff. And I mean, I am so bummed I cannot do Across the Green. I will be in Las Vegas, but I will definitely be following Twitter to get the full scoop on what's going on there.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day on Twitter. So if you want to follow along, make sure you're following Michelle Bodkin for your Pac-12 Media Days updates, and at Across the Green U for the updates on the rest of the team, how they're faring on Media Day.
Well, it should be great stuff. I'm really looking forward to it. Andrew, thank you so much for taking some time and talking about this little passion project that's turned into kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Michelle. You're fantastic, and I really appreciate you having us on.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. That is Andrew McCollough, one of the brainchildren of the Utah Social Open and Across the Green, which is an NIL golf tournament that helps Utah football. We are out of time for this week, but we will be back next week with another Utah-centric story. You have been listening to The Crimson Corner. I am Michelle Bodkin signing off, and as always, go Utes.